Hello, everyone, and welcome to Infinite Growth TV. I'm your host, Professor Econ Todd Allen. Thank you for being with us this evening. My guest will be here shortly. We're going to have Profi Omar, who is who teaches Spanish, and we'll have him. He's be coming in a few moments. But we're going to talk about the 5 benefits of being bilingual for African Americans, and being bilingual is extremely, extremely important. And we're going to discuss that tonight. So, how has being bilingual benefited me? Well, it's benefited me because many people who know me know that I travel between the United States and South America. And one of the biggest benefits that I've had is being able to connect with people from a different culture. And that has made my experience here in Colombia very, very enjoyable. When I got here in October of 2020, I thought that I would be able to speak English. However, learning Spanish in the classroom is very, very different than learning Spanish on the street, so to speak. And when I got here, one of the people that helped me immensely was my mother-in-law. Now, what was interesting is that when I first got here, I really did not understand a lot of what my mother-in-law was saying. Part of that is because when you learn another language, it's not just the book learning; it's the learning how to listen as well. Because when people speak at different rates, and so it's sort of like if people talk fast, you have to listen fast, and you have to listen to where the breaks are. One of the first things I was trying to understand when I was learning Spanish is how do people actually breathe? Because it seems that sometimes that depending upon the dialect of Spanish or the different accents in Spanish, the speed, it sometimes causes you not to be able to hear different words. Sort of like when foreigners come to the U.S. and then they meet someone from a South Carolina, or they meet someone from a Georgia or an Alabama. It's very challenging sometimes for them to pick up because of the accents. And in here in Colombia, there are different accents as well. So our guest has arrived, and we're going to have him come on. This is Profi Don Omar. I'm going to say a little bit about him. He didn't know I was going to say this. We're going to say this about him. He's a real deal. He and we kind of met online. Basically, he created a group of like-minded and physically looking people that are in the YouTube space, and he's been very instrumental in helping a lot of us to grow our YouTube presence and to grow in the YouTube space. And so he was actually traveling to Colombia, and he had stopped over in Bogota, and we connected. And that was the first time that we had really met. But because we are members of a particular organization, and he's demonstrating that organization today. I see he's in the back wearing that. We connected. But like I said, he's a real one. He's the genuine article, because again, he came here, he talked to my soccer team, he talked to them in fluent Spanish, and he also teaches the Spanish, and he's committed to it. And so, without further ado, let me bring in Profi Omar. But before I do, I've got this new branding space, so I've got to make sure that I transition correctly. So let's do this. Let me do it this way. We bring him in, and then I'll make the corrections here. And let me see if I do it correctly. I'm sorry. There we go. Success.
All right.
There he is. Profi Omar.
Yo, what's good? What's good?
Muchísimas gracias.
Buenas noches. I see right now, I'm probably going to need some glasses, man. I'm getting old out here in these streets. I'm going to be reading a lot, man. And I have so much to share. I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go. This is something that I've been waiting on to talk about for for about 2 years.
Really?
But I've been holding back, like Simply Red. Everybody don't know who Simply Red is, but when they had that song "Holding Back the Tears," oh man, I've been holding back. I've been holding back on this conversation for so long because it's a sensitive topic for a lot of people.
Why do you say that? That
and
surprises
I'm jumping right
me.
in, right? I'm sorry, I'm jumping right in, but I feel like it's a sensitive topic because a lot of people, and when I say people, because I'm getting ready to run the gamut. I tapped in with people that live in Colombia that are African American by descent and live in Colombia. I've tapped into Afro Brits. I've talked to African Americans that live in Korea, and I've gotten a lot of feedback just in probably about 10 hours. And so
wow.
when but people they got, the bilingual Black community. We have a lot to say about this, and as far as the benefits that it's providing us living abroad or living here in the United States. And I'd say it's a sensitive topic or situation because a lot of African Americans, they want it, but they don't pursue it.
Why do you think that is?
And that is the number one thing that I'm trying. It's some of us pursue it, right? There are those set of people that that are in our community, that are in our families, that can pursue the concept of I want to have a basic fluency or a conversational fluency, or I want to pursue it from an advanced standpoint. Everything comes together for the greater good, right? So, but when we think about it, like, what is it that's holding us back from being, man, there's so much, it's so deep. So what's holding us back from being like our African brothers and sisters in the various nations of Africa that can speak, 5 and 6 languages, and they have, multiple dialects? What's holding us back from being similar to them? Or what's holding us back from being like the Afro Latinos that come here that can also speak, Portuguese and Espanol and English or Haitian Creole, and they speak German, they speak Russian? What's holding us back? And I don't know if it's because of how the United States has been set up, and the powers that be tell us, oh, this is the great nation, and this is America first, and everything that people think and know is, well, America, it started out with Native Americans, there was some English, and the Brits came over to, blah, 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 and it's always been an English kind of setup in the northern area, and then it kind of expanded across the United States, and that has just kind of been what we have done over the last 5-6 centuries as a nation. But for a people, I think we've lost the importance of language, and that goes back even further, right? We lost language from the transatlantic situation. We lost language from there. And how do we get to a point where we gain language back? Or it doesn't even have to be Spanish. I'm just saying in general, how do we get to a point where we decide, you know what, I want to go back and I want to be able to, converse with others in a different language, albeit, French, Swahili, whatever.
Yeah.
How do we get back to that point? That's what I'm so excited about to talk about tonight. So, man, a bunch of feelings and a bunch of emotions, man. I'm excited to be on this one tonight.
Yeah, I kind of feel your pain, and I understand it. And being an economist, I kind of want to offer this as a possibility.
Yes.
When we look at the North American continent, we have the Americas. We have South America, Central America, and we have North America, and so all of them are connected, with the narrow strip through Central America. But the United States is in essence an island, which is separate from other parts. And then being, highly militarized, they have the protection. They protected the borders from Mexico on down through South America. And we're looking at North America, of course, we go to Canada. Canada has Montreal, which is very they're polyglots in Montreal, with the French and the English and then other languages that they offer there as well. But then, north of that, we've got the North Pole. So, we're protected by the poles, the cold, and we're pretty much an island nation. If we look at Africa, of course, they have the man-made borders, of course, there. But then you have 250 different dialects on the continent. And then if you look in Europe, the European continent, you would have one country which is separated by a street with the other. And so they have the mix of languages. I had some friends from Belgium, and they spoke 5 different languages. And I think that was possibly out of necessity because, with the European Union, they have the ability to cross borders to work, but you certainly have to be able to speak the language in the area in which you are living and working. I have a former student of mine who is now in Sweden, and of course he's from Maui in Africa, so he can speak English. He speaks their language there, and then also now he speaks Swedish as well. So he lives and works there. But again, there are plethora of advantages of being bilingual, especially for those of us who are melanated, men and women, I should say. But before we go ahead.
Yeah, let's see what you want to do. Yeah, go ahead and rock out.
Well, what I want to do is want to start off with your background, because this is what you do. This is your purpose, right? This is what you do. This is the career that you've chosen in terms of language. So let's talk a little bit about that before we get deep into the subject, if you will. How did you get started?
And let me, boy, we on live TV. This is how this happens. So I got a 5-year-old calling me right now on her Alexa device, and I'm trying to figure out why is she calling me on her Alexa device.
Go ahead and handle that, man.
She is downstairs. Hold on.
No worries.
This would never happen in a normal situation, but give me 1 second.
No worries. So want to thank XL Pro for coming in. XL Pro has been a supporter of the show, and I just want to reach shout out and say, hey, thank you so much. And then also to Louis Nesbitt, super great teacher, Profi Don Omar. Yes, thank you so much for being here. Yes, Louis Nesbitt, it's cultural. Yes, it is, and certainly that has been embedded in the programming, I should say, of many people in North America. When they think that there's not something that we necessarily should do. One of the advantages, or one of the things that we kind of need to take a look at, or at least one thing that has not been taught in North America, is the advantages, and we're going to talk about that tonight. But a lot of times people don't see any value in it, right? Everyone knows that I have a youth soccer team here in Colombia, and so by having a youth soccer team here in Colombia, and all of the kids want to be professional soccer players, one of the things that I tell them is that they have to become bilingual, because in order to leave, let's say, South America, or play in the European League, or play in the Italian League or so, that they would have to become bilingual to be able to function. And not just function, but also to be marketable. Because one of the things that professional soccer teams do is that they want to be able to interview the individual, much like Major League Baseball. When we get the influx of Japanese players, or the influx of Venezuelans, they certainly want those individuals to be interviewed and to be able to speak in English. So let's bring Profi back in.
All right.
Okay.
Man, lo siento mucho. It was a real
Todo está bien?
emergency. It was a real emergency. So she, 5-year-olds, and they learn. They're learning. So she's newly 5. But so
Todo
anyways,
está bien?
yeah, todo bien. She's ella tuvo usar el baño, so tuve que usar el baño. So we good to go. We good to go now. So
Okay.
anyways, so your
So
question was,
yeah, this is what you do. This is your purpose, right? You've been involved in language in languages, in particular, I think in particular Spanish. I don't know if you have other languages, your Portuguese as well.
so yeah, so and I always give the real story. So but I'm gonna go deeper because we fret. So we're gonna dive a little deeper. So I was first exposed to languages from a European standpoint. I moved early on to Germany and as a child, and that was my first experience with a foreign language. Um, Learned German not from a like an advanced stage, but I learned from a conversational standpoint how to, to be able to function within society while we lived there. And was there for a few years and then came back to the United States. Well, German was never my thing, but I said, well, while I was over there, I had gotten exposed to more Spanish speakers. And you can take that for what it's worth, but for me, it was, young boy, coming up in his, in his age. I saw some things and I was like, whoo, need to learn his Spanish. So when we got back, and that was a class that was offered. I was like, oh man, definitely want to learn Spanish. So I started out from there. That was my first initial thing as far as an actual class. And then proceeded to undergrad, and in undergrad I did Spanish, and then I was like, I'm gonna take a break. They had a break where you could actually, and I was talking about this last weekend, you can actually take in some schools, I don't know, but everybody's university may be different, but in mine they had Portuguese for Spanish speakers, and that was the gateway that tied me over into Portuguese. And I would never claim to be fluent, but I can, function in Portuguese, and I can say what I need to say. I'm not like, I can't give a public speech or anything, but I definitely can function in it. And if I went back and dove into it even more, I would definitely be able to function in it. But I was talking to a gentleman, and I would say this, a gentleman that is Haitian by birth, and we were discussing this earlier today, and we were saying that the ability for somebody, once they engage in one language that's outside of their normal language, it makes it easier for them to acquire a new language. Because once you've gotten that first one under your belt, that first new language outside of your native language, the next one that follows is going to be easier because you know the steps that you had to take. And that's an advantage that's one of those benefits that we talk about. Once you grasp and you can obtain that first foreign language or the first world language, or whatever you want to call it, the language outside of your native language, once you get that first one, the second, the third, the fourth are so much easier to obtain because you know the steps that you have to take. I'm not a polyglot by any means, and it's because I don't practice to be one. And I want to make sure people understand. There's a strict line for me where people say, oh, so-and-so is a polyglot. Oh, so-and-so speaks 20 languages. Whoop-de-doo. That's not something that I look to do in life. I just want to be the best I can be in Spanish and be the best that I can be when I need to function in Portuguese. And then, of course, there are 3 more languages I want to, and then, of course, I wouldn't fall into that polyglot situation. But I'm trying to focus on being the best I can be to steer people to Spanish. And if I can break things down in Spanish for others that want to learn Spanish, that's my focus. That's my end goal.
Okay. Why Spanish? ¿Por qué español?
Oh man, ¿por qué español? Ah man, ooh, that's a good one. So let's talk about it. So for me, Spanish goes back for me, and I was, I'll tell my age. I'm not ashamed, but 1987,
Hmm.
there was a movie that came out that was called Three Amigos. Martin Sheen, Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, Martin Short. Sorry,
Hmm.
Martin Short. I think it's his name, Martin Short, Steve Martin, and Chevy Chase. And they did the Three Amigos. They had El Guapo. They had the people there. And at the end of the movie, when the Three Amigos were leaving town, just to give a quick synopsis, the short guy, I want to say his name was Martin Short, but I don't know. Now I'm second guessing his name on it. But anyways, he had a young lady come out and was like, I think she said "Hasta luego, Ned." That was his name in the movie, "Hasta luego, Ned." But when she popped out, and I was in about third grade, I said, "Oh yes, sir. I'm gonna learn this language right here." When she popped out, all white lace, she had the all white lace on, the light brown eyes. I said, "Yes, sir. I'm gonna learn this language." That was third grade, so you can see the motivation was different from me, but that was my motivation. And hey, you can't knock my motivation, right?
No,
So
no, yeah,
that was my thing, and so from that, but the stars aligned perfectly for me in that situation, because in the city that I grew up in, they would send down Spanish 3, Spanish 4, Spanish 5, AP Spanish students to the elementary schools that were surrounding the area, and they would actually teach the younger kids from K through 3 Spanish. And so that was our breaking point. That kind of brought me into the language in itself, but it was also the standpoint of, I want to be like these kids when I get to high school, because they're coming down and they're teaching kids mindset 101. Now, granted, I'll tell you this. At that point, I never even thought about teaching Spanish. Oh, my mind was on being like Heathcliff Huxtable. I wanted to be a doctor. I was going to marry a lawyer.
right.
Spanish was just going to be, my wife was going to speak Spanish, because that was the mindset. It was never even a thing that I wanted to pursue from an teach, Spanish education. Wow, how things come full circle, right? So, but that was my initial touch on learning the language. And from that standpoint, of course, going into living in Europe and being, I guess, inundated with the different, Latino heritages that I came across, the Cubanos, the Dominicanos, the Puerto Ricanos, the Boricuas, whatever. They all came together, and I was getting all that together at one time in Germany, which was fire. It was amazing. And then I come back to good old deep South, Carolina del Norte, and it's like, you might catch somebody that spoke Spanish. You might not. I'm talking about, early to mid 90s.
Right.
And I was just like, this is not, I was still trying to focus from an academic standpoint. The academic standpoint was the only access I really had. I had a few friends that were, descendants. They were, native speakers or whatever, but they didn't really fool with us like that.
Right.
When I say us, I mean like from an African-American standpoint,
Yeah.
they was like, yeah, I'm gonna speak this for my people. But when you trying to practice, I ain't about that life. And that was the thing in the 90s. It was like, I'm not really there with you. And there was no real connection.
Right.
But when I got to the undergrad standpoint, that's where I was able to be myself, being an individual, and actually pursue it. And what really drove me from that point was finding out, because I didn't know that there were Black people like me that spoke Spanish.
In my Seattle.
It blew my mind that there were people that lived across the Americas that spoke Spanish, didn't speak English, that were brought across on the same slave trade situation and spread throughout Central America, the Caribbean, and South America.
Mm-hmm.
That's what blew my mind. And it was one class. I swear to sweet Jesus, I was on my way to med school. That was my mindset. Go to undergrad, I'm going to med school. But then I took one class, Blacks in Latin America. And then what happened to me? I got sucked in. Next thing I know, I'm like, what's your major, Omar? Latin American Studies. Oh, you not going to med school no more? Nah, man, that ain't for me. I don't even like blood. It was just that. It was that different for me. And it once I found out about it,
yeah,
it was all over at that point. It was all over. I was all in on finding out about our brothers and sisters that lived across the Americas and how we got disconnected. Uh-oh.
Well, yeah, shout out to Tevin King. Tevin King,
yeah,
thanks
I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
Oh, no worries. Tevin King, thank you for the $20 super chat. Thank you so much for your support. Support Black Male Media and hit that like button. Yes, sir. Thank you. And then Saint Cyr, hola a todos. Hola a todos. Tevin King, salute. This was in response to when you earlier was talking about how when you learn one language, it's easier to learn the next. Says exactamente. Yes. Exactamente. Exactly. I learned French in high school and university, went to Colombia and was able to connect because I understood the rules. Pronunciation came later, or maybe still it's coming.
Right. Fact. That's my man, Lewis. Shout out to Lewis. Thank you for pulling up, Lewis.
He makes a good point. I mean, most people think that learning a language is all about the grammar. But in essence, I mean, I believe that learning the language is all about speaking. What do you think, Profi?
So I will say this, excuse me. So you were in the best situation, and my man Lewis was in the best situation. Lewis lived down in Manizales for a number of years, teaching English, but he was in a university, university area, nice setup in Colombia. But I think the secret, and of course, everybody can't do it. And so we're going to talk about two scenarios of what works, right? First scenario, the best scenario, everyone wants that scenario. We can't necessarily have it, but it's being able to live abroad and immerse yourself fully, right? That's perfect. And being able to be around it 24/7. Right? Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that's going to propel your ability in the language. For me, though, I got my opportunity to live abroad later in life. And it was a personal choice. Me personally, I wanted to use my 4 years of undergrad being on campus. I didn't want to leave. I had a choice. You could have gone and studied abroad, but I chose not to. That just was not what I wanted to do. So I stayed on campus, but I had to figure out a way to propel my Spanish language abilities. So I developed what I called was a domestic immersion program. And basically I would seek out people that I knew that weren't necessarily on campus, but they were in the surrounding area that I knew were maybe here and didn't really speak a lot of English. And so what I would do in 1997, 98, 99, I would just kind of go to these locations where they were, and I knew they wanted to practice their English. And I kind of set up a deal with them when I would go around to these spots. I would say, hey, I'm going to speak in Spanish. You speak in English. And if I say what I need to say correctly in Spanish, that means you're going to respond or try to respond correctly in English. And we worked out a scenario from there. Mm-hmm. And so they helped me with my speaking skills. And then we would reverse it, the next week. I say, okay, next week when I come in, I'll speak in English, you speak in Spanish. And we would work that way. This is pre-internet, that's when Ethernet was just popping off. There was no Wi-Fi. There was no such thing. So I would say speaking is great. Input is great. You got to get both, right? You got to be able to get it in and put it out. um, just taking it in is not always the best scenario. It's great, but how do you produce with the language? You got to be able to produce with the language. And you got to be okay with making mistakes. That's a
Yes.
big thing for a lot of people. But neither here nor there. I want to jump into the benefits. So I'm gonna get that off, and then we can rock and roll.
Okay. St. Cyr says, for me, listening comprehension. Yes, speaking is important, but are you comprehending what's being said to you? You know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. My first several months here was very, very difficult.
But
But
supposedly,
it was kind of cool too, because if my wife was angry with me, I would just say, "I don't understand." Yo no
right,
entiendo.
right,
Right.
right.
So,
Totally okay.
but again, the one thing that I've learned, Profi, is that when you are learning a foreign language, when you're living abroad and you're trying to learn their language, when you give the effort to speak it, they realize that they feel as though that you respect them, you respect their language, and they give you the requisite respect as well. And that's been one of the things that really has helped me in the community which I live. I call myself the gringo of Fontibon, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I'm the only foreigner
yeah.
that looks like me that lives here.
You might be. I think for miles in a square mile radius. I don't think you. I don't think you got to worry about too many Morenos being around your area, like in the United States. I think you are the only one. I've never been in an area like. Granted, man, that was an experience in itself. I was just like, wow, this is you know, you can go a lot of places in the world. Even when I was in Thailand, I could see somebody that had the same skin tone, skin color. Yeah, in that area where you are,
No, I'm immersed. Yeah, I'm a flying
yeah,
cream.
you in there. You deep inside the situation. So
Yeah.
I commend you on that in itself. I'm just like, whoo, boy. Now,
Yeah.
granted, I lived that same scenario when I was in Guadalajara back in like '08.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, I was walking the streets. People, I'd be in the club. They'd be like, "Oh, Kobe." I'm 5'9". Ain't no way I'm Kobe. But they would be like, "Oh, Kobe, Kobe." Do I really? Do I
Yeah.
really? But they
So
didn't know. They didn't know. You were the first one walking amongst them in the streets that
right.
they saw. They're used to seeing black women maybe every now and then. I guess I wouldn't even say like the people from Africa, because at that point I don't even know if they were going to the University of Guadalajara. But
Mm-hmm.
oh man, what we got here?
So Lewis says he can relate to Omar's point at the South. Was in North Carolina, wanted to learn Spanish. Noticed that Latinos use Spanish as a code that they kept secret. I think it's a protection mechanism for some of them.
Yes,
very much so. That's
yes,
a very good observation on Lewis's part, and
yes,
for sure. And especially, I mean, let's just speak the truth. In some parts of the South, they believe that the South will rise again.
yes, very much
So,
so.
so when there are some people that are there that may have an accent different than them, right, and that they're speaking something other than English, sometimes they can be considered a target. And so when someone comes in and says, "Hey, I'm trying to learn your language. Would you help me speak it?" Sometimes there's a little reluctance to be able to
Right,
do that. But
right.
it's good that you were able to find that. And in talking about the community here in which I live, most people, I tell people that their great grandparents look like me because understanding the history of Colombia. And I tell my wife, I said she's more negrita than she is blanco. So,
Okay,
and she agrees with that because again, there are a lot of them that don't want to identify with blanco because they gravitate more to Afro-Colombians or the Afro
and why
Afro
is that?
culture.
So why is that though? Because there's a lot of people that might not know why do they in Bogota? Let's talk about that. In Bogota, why do they gravitate towards that?
Well, where I am in Bogota, I'm not up north. I mean, because one thing that people need to understand that Colombia, as well as other South American countries, are very stratified, right? And they're not stratified by race; they're stratified by economics, by finances. And so here in Colombia, you have 1 through 6. I apologize, 1 through 6. So the more income you have, the more resources here in Colombia, in Bogota, I should say, which is the capital. They're more northern Bogota, which is more more further away, more mountainous, if you will, towards the mountains, than not. Those would be more of a lot of your foreigners go to those locations because there's more tourism there, and so that there's more of there's less of an African presence, if you will.
Presence. So you're talking about like strata 4 and strata 4, 5, 6.
Right. Well, yeah, because I'm in tres. I'm in strata 3, and there's a reason for it. I mean, think about it. Everything here, not everything here, I see, but a lot of things are subsidized. And how are they subsidized? Is that people that make more money, they basically pay more for services than those who are of the lower end of the economic system, right? And so 1 and 2 is very different than 3 and 4, and then 5 and 6. So 3 and 4 is more mid Colombian, if you will. And so that's where I am, right? I'm in 3 usually, and so you get a mix.
That's by choice.
It's by choice. It's by choice. It certainly is. For example, if I was to go to up north, they have apartments that range anywhere from 7 million, from 3 million pesos to 7.5 million pesos a month, right? So for where I am now, a 3-bedroom apartment, I'm paying 800,000, close to 900,000 pesos. So that's anywhere from, let's say, $200 to $250 a month in rent. So even if if you want to do the financial arbitrage, if you make a lot of money, you don't need to live up north. You can always take the bus or you Uber to up north to those things, right? So, it's just. It's
everybody's not an econ major though, so we don't.
If you go where you're comfortable, you go where you're. What brought me here was my wife, right? What brought me here was my wife, and so I was bringing sand to the beach.
I hear you. I hear you, and I'm gonna jump into my my notes while you bring up your stuff, but because I think we've got a lot. I don't want to keep you all day, but I want to definitely, I definitely want to talk about what are some benefits. What's your number 1 benefit? What did you get as your not number 1? Let's go with top 5. Let's reverse it. Let's go 5 to 1.
So 5 to 1.
What do you have for your 5th one? What would be
for me? Being bilingual. Being bilingual opens up a world of literal sense. It shows the direction of communication in a wider range of people, facilitates travel, fosters a more global perspective. For African Americans, it means increased opportunities for international study, work, or travel, enriching personal and professional experiences. So we'll shout out to Flyboy for coming in. And then real quick, Jermone, what up, speak Spanish in chat room peeps. Okay.
All right.
So again, for me, it's like it's offered a global perspective to this point. I was politically active when I was up north, right, in the U.S.
Okay.
Now I'm not so much. Why? Because I'm a guest here, and so
of course,
I don't want to get into the politics of here.
In the particular country that you live in. Yeah, I get that. That's understandable because you're a guest there. Yes, correct. I understand that.
But it's also given me a global perspective from the standpoint that, we think from a first world perspective. But when you travel abroad and then when you're bilingual and can talk to the people, regardless of what status, that you could talk to someone at Stratos 1 or Stratos 6, right? You can get the different perspectives. And then what I found out is that everybody, no matter if you're rich or poor, we all want the same things, and that's to be happy
Yes.
and live in peace. And
Yes.
that's the global perspective that I was able to come across. But what has helped me was to be bilingual, to be able to talk and to listen and to understand where someone is and get their worldview and say, hey, you know what? I was very myopic in my worldview. Theirs is I can accept some things, and then other things I can just flat out just not accept. But it's given me more of a well-rounded perspective of life.
And I think you saying that is exactly what a lot of my colleagues across social media, and when I say my colleagues, they are doing the same thing that I am. And I mean, one of 1, 2, 3 Black gentlemen that I know personally on the various social media platforms that are out here doing it. But from a female perspective, there's a lot more females out here, African American women that are actually working to, promote language learning. And the ones I know, they're colleagues, they're working from a Spanish perspective, from an African American woman standpoint. And what they have expressed to me was, and I've got, a couple of African Americans and an Afro Brit, which they all gave me their insight on the global perspective aspect. And I also talked to a gentleman today that is a Haitian Creole American. I take that back. Haitian Cuban American. I don't even know how that works. But he is Haitian Cuban. What else? But they all said the same thing. It gave them, by learning another language, albeit Spanish or English or whatever the language was, it gave them the understanding of the people that they encountered in that language. So, for example, the young ladies that I collab with, they learned Spanish, but it gave them an understanding of their roots. Some of them had roots that trace back to Cuba. Like the young lady that I know, she lives in UK now, but she has roots that trace back to Cuba. She actually was able to go back, and it helped her to, understand learning Spanish, because when she moved and traversed to UK, her family moved to UK. I think they lost the language, and so then she went back and she was able to get an understanding, and she felt so much more connected to Cuba after learning the language. Some of the ladies that I know that live up north, they in New York areas that speak Spanish, they are able to understand and sympathize with the people that are coming here that don't speak English, that are native speakers of Spanish, and they can help and assist them. And it's more of a being able to get connected to people that need that connection, that don't necessarily know how to reach out and find a connection. But that's what it's all about when we say becoming a global citizen and having the patience. Learn a language outside of your native language, you develop more patience as a person, and you get a calming in yourself, and you understand what it takes for someone trying to create sentences or structures, or they're trying to put stuff together in a particular language. You understand what it takes because you yourself are doing the same thing, or you have been there when you're trying to utilize their language or whatever language it may be. So you develop a sense of humility. Pride is de-escalated. It drops, and then you're like, I understand. You're sympathetic to what it takes. And so that is one of the things I believe is a benefit for a personal standpoint. People, you develop patience, you develop understanding, and you become open to what people are dealing with when you're trying to learn English. So when we're trying to learn, a language, it helps out the long run. It helps out in the long run. So yeah, absolutely.
So is that your number 5?
I would say so. My number 5, I would say being able to develop a sense of understanding from a global perspective. Yes, you able to connect. You're able to connect with people on a different level because you understand what they're going through trying to learn English. From a Black American, from an African American standpoint, you were able to connect and understand what they're going through trying to learn English. Yes. So when I learned Spanish, and even in those early days when I was trying to speak Spanish, and they were like, bro, yeah, that's me thinking on the outside. Like they weren't really saying that, but they
Right, I got you. Well, I'm gonna throw
Yeah,
something else in there from a global perspective. I think I think another advantage is it makes me more romantic.
Expound upon that, brother. I want to hear what do you got for us?
Well, here's why. Because again, if I'm to look at the number of the percentages, again, the econ person, the percentages of people in the United States who are
Did you already hit the percentages before I got on?
I don't remember.
Okay, I wanted to talk about that 92.6% of African American people don't speak anything other than English. I don't know if we
no, I hadn't talked about that, but I can bring that up.
Man, I saw that one, but I just made that number up. So people at home, that's not really the number. Let's wait for the number. Stay with us, and before we land the plane, we'll talk about that real number, though. Yeah, absolutely. But go ahead. How does it make you romantic? I want to hear this.
It makes me more romantic because again, you pick up phrases, you pick up things, words, sayings, and being able to utilize them. But it also helps me to become more expressive, right?
Yes.
Being able to use a foreign language. Sometimes your native language, you're so accustomed to it that you kind of overlook the emotions or the feelings behind it, right? For example, if I were to say, if I say good morning to my wife, buenos dias, amor, hola, hola, mi reina, it gives a different feel to it, right? And that's why I say it makes me, the advantage is it makes me at least emotionally more connected when I'm able to speak and to express myself. And I'm using that as a global perspective as well. But I'm just saying, for me, that has been something that has helped me because, my wife doesn't speak any English, and so me.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I mean, what's crazy is I was talking to her the whole time, but I was talking in Spanish, but I never even thought about the fact that she never even spoke. I never even knew that.
No,
news to me tonight. Did not know that.
No, that's so again, the romantic part is, and I'm sure that when you talk to your
I got a question for you then.
Okay.
Of course, it makes you a lot more romantic at that standpoint. But so for the fact that she doesn't speak any English, so when you got there, how long did it take you to assimilate to not only the culture there, but to also to acculturate and to also be able to?
It took me 4 weeks.
Language acquisition. How was it a quick transition for you, or was it a slow transition?
It took me 4 weeks. It took me 4 weeks because again,
we got to talk about that. That's what people want to know. That's what people want to know. Why did it take 4 weeks? That's what they want to know.
Things like hot water, getting accustomed to taking water, I mean,
get in and get out. Yeah, sink or swim. Okay.
Yeah, it's getting accustomed to learning the different currencies, right? We go somewhere, we'll throw dollars out and we know what the cost is, but getting acclimated to understanding what the different coins are or the different notes are, or
Mm-hmm.
even how to count, right?
Yeah.
Anything above 10, you know, in your basic languages, I mean, it becomes challenging. But I realized that, I'm in deep water, right? I'm not like onshore fishing. I'm
Right.
in deep water. Um,
Yeah.
and I had to get very, very acclimated very quickly. And as I was saying before you came in, a person that really helped me was my mother-in-law, because you know the, there are different languages, not different languages, there are different dialects of Spanish, right? And then sometimes when you meet people, they don't always pronunciate like they do in the classroom setting. And so I didn't understand my stepson. I didn't understand my wife all the time. I didn't understand, my mother-in-law, my nieces, my nephews, and it was just all coming in like a fire hose, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
being here, being immersed, as you said, that was that's you sink or swim, right?
I
And
mean, and I tell you, like, just like I had I was on the podcast last week with the Professional Nomad podcast, and we were talking about that, and I said, man, if I'm an old head, and I claim being an old head. It shows in my beard, but at the same time, I will say this: there was an episode, and if anybody ever wants to see how language acquisition happens, I would always say this. There's an episode of The Simpsons where Bart went and studied overseas in France. And he went over there not knowing any French. Ended up in working as like in some child labor situations where they had him working in a winery, smashing grapes barefoot or whatever. And it was just child labor. Like they weren't paying him anything. He escaped off the compound and got into the streets, found a cop, and he couldn't speak any English. I mean, any French or whatever. And he was trying to explain to the cop. The cop didn't speak English, and just all of a sudden he started walking off from the cop, and he, beating himself down. And next thing you know, it just transitioned into French. And he was like, "Oh snap, speaking French!" Then he ran up, but it happens when you don't expect it to happen. And I think you having that fire hose on you, with all of the Spanish coming at you,
yeah,
it's incomprehensible input is what we talk about, right? It just keeps coming in, and you're just like, I'm overwhelmed. But then it happens, and then you're like, oh snap, I got it. I understand what you're saying. And then you say your words, and everybody drops the plates, they drop the forks, and like, oh. It's a big moment. It's worthy of praise, if you will. It's worthy of praise. I will say that. What we got here?
This is Louis Nesbitt. When I met my partner, she spoke no English. We spoke 100% in Espanol, so I had to get better. She was motivated to help, and I was motivated to advance. Yeah, I mean that's
Yes.
Your significant other is a tremendous help. And so, there are formal and informal ways of speaking in every language. That's why I was mentioning comprehension earlier. I used to get lost at people simply saying "Cómo está?" Yeah,
oh, man.
yeah.
By surprise anytime. Yeah, absolutely.
Sincere facts. That's why people learn Spanish in school, but get around Spanish speakers and can't understand a thing. That is.
Talk about it.
That's
the truth right
there. Great episode of The Simpsons. He was unaware he learned just like a baby. He did just that. Yeah, it's like I said, getting here, I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea. And being immersed,
When you had no idea, you gotta lay that out a little bit clearer for us. You had no idea what.
I believed, just like Saint Cyr was saying, or one of the people in the chat, I thought that by having some classes or doing the apps right on the phone, that I would be able to get by. And just walking in the park and hearing people speak, and you pick up words and phrases, and you're like, "What in the world is that?" I'll give you an example. I'll give you a classic example, Profi. I'll give you a classic
That is
example.
the hardest way to do it, though. That's the hardest way to do it, though.
Yeah,
But yeah, go ahead. Now. Give me an
going
example.
to the
That's the
restaurant.
hardest way to try to do it, though.
Going to the
That's the
restaurant.
hardest way. Yeah.
And they say, "Tu quieres este acá o allá?" And I'm like, "Acá, allá?" I'm like,
Yeah,
you know?
words, right?
Right. And so I'm thinking they never used a key. And in the classroom, that's all you use is a key. Right.
Right.
And so
right.
I'm like,
and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you know, but yeah, I get it. It doesn't flow well. We understand later on you learn that it doesn't flow well if you think about it. You think about it from a language perspective. It doesn't flow well. And once you learn Spanish, you know if I say pa aquí or para aquí, it doesn't flow like pa acá.
no, para acá.
Or para
Para
acá.
allá. Para allá.
Yeah,
And
para llevar.
Those who are non-Spanish speakers, I'll go to a restaurant, they'll ask you, do you want it here or do you want it to go? And so in Spanish, you have a key, usually it's a key, meaning here. But
right.
the way that people are acá, here, or allá, away, right? And I'm like, it took me 4 weeks, Profi. Took me.
But it's okay. It's okay. But you know what? I learned that at Burger King here in the States, though. I learned that in the States at Burger King because I would go through the drive-through, or I would go into the not the drive-through, but I go into the restaurant or into Burger King, and I would say, I mean, Burger King is a restaurant. Let me not disrespect Burger King because they might want to sponsor me one day or whatever. But but I go into Burger King. And I would, I see. Oh, this is homegirl, Rosita. She's working the front register. About to practice this Spanish, baby. I'm gonna get this number. Yo necesito número dos con queso. Un grande papa fritas. Hey man, give it to me, right? But then she hit me with the, okay. ¿Tú vas a comer aquí o para acá? O para llevar? Right. She would say, ¿Tú vas a comer aquí o para llevar?
Right. You want to eat here or you want to eat take it? Yeah.
I was like, "Ooh, boy."
Welcome to my world, Profi.
I was like, "Ooh, I wasn't ready for that one, right?" Come on, you got to hit him with that. Come on, ¿Vas a comer aquí o para llevar? And I was like, "Oh yeah." So, anyways, let's jump into it, man. Right. I do remind. I have some memories just like you do.
Cortez.
So that was number 5. We got number 5 out of the way to become a better global citizen.
Hold on,
right?
Profi. Hold on, Profi.
Yeah.
Espera, porfa.
Tenemos
una pregunta. What advice would you give to people who have trouble rolling the tongue to pronounce the double R's? It's a great question, Cortez.
Man. You got some advice? I got mine, but go ahead and give yours, and then we'll talk about what I got, though.
I still can't.
You live there.
I still can't roll my R's.
Okay.
So
let me ask you this, though. Because you can't, though, do they not understand you?
No, they understand me.
Exactly.
Okay. For example, there's butt or dog, perro or perro, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on the context. And so what helped me, Cortez?
Say it again, because I don't think they heard you in the back there. You got to say that again, though.
Yeah, it becomes contextual. One of the things that helped me to understand, and one of the things that has helped me to become a better speaker, and I still have a long way to go. I tell people I want to be able to speak like one of their poets, right? Cervantes. Yes. I want to be able to speak like Cervantes. But what has helped me is context. If I can catch a few words and then I understand the context, then I can put the rest of it together. And then my response is I don't have to roll my R, right?
Yeah.
But it does.
So I want to talk about the double R thing, because that's the kind of thing that I deal with clients, and they I can't do it. First of all, don't tell me you can't do something before you even try. That's the one thing.
Who you talking
because
to? Who you talking to?
they
You
hear
can't tell
me
me.
say it. So when I say perro and I do carro and I do ferril and I do, all of the words hierro, and they hear that like, oh my God, how do you do it? I'm like, okay, there's a couple scenarios that I can bring you into progress with this.
Right.
Did you play a woodwind instrument in band? Yeah, I played the saxophone. Yeah, I played the flute. Yeah, I played the clarinet. Okay. The same way you put you had to place your mouth on the mouthpiece for a flute or a clarinet or a saxophone is going to be the similar situation. And if you can do the certain things that we had to do for a woodwind instrument, this ain't gonna be hard. If you played the trumpet, you played the clarinet, the trombone, you played the tuba, any type of musical instrument, if anybody ever played that, you can do this. Now, if you didn't play a musical instrument, right, there's other exercises that you can take into place. And there's simple exercises that I would do. And I will also tell people that you need to think about, since we use YouTube, Cardi B, the Super Bowl commercial from like 2019, I don't know, whenever she did the Pepsi commercial. When she did the commercial and she said she hit him with the that is it. Just listen to it over and over again and practice what she's doing. If you don't know what she's doing, then the secret is this: you take your tongue, put it on the roof of your mouth, imitate the sound of a car engine, and you just go. And then people are like, oh, well, where am I going to practice? When you're brushing your teeth, when you gargle, the same noise that you make in your throat, you can do the same concept from a mouth or from an oral. But we can, secrets. But the secrets work. You know what I mean? They work. You just got to put them into practice. And I when people say, "Oh man, I can't roll my R's," it's okay. There are native speakers that can't roll their R's. It's totally okay. So don't worry about like not rolling your R's. Like Profe said, context tells what it is that you're trying to say. So if I'm talking about a dog and I can't roll my R's, if I say, ¿cómo se llama tu perro? Right? They gonna know it's a dog that I'm asking, what's the name? They're not asking, hey, what's your name? What's the name of your butt? Like, that's not gonna make sense. But if I say, ¿cómo se llama tu perro? Oh, they know what I'm talking about. So don't worry about not being able to roll the R's. Don't let that inhibit you from being a Spanish speaker. Just keep it moving and learn other things. You know what I'm saying? That might come on the back end. Right. But that's just a quick question somebody had. I appreciate the question though, but yeah.
Saint Cyr, the trilled R's are a tricky one. Not many people trip on me when I can't do it every time. Absolutely, absolutely right.
They're not. Yeah.
Right. Realization was there were equivalents to Gullah, Southern dialect, and etc. in Espanol. I thought I was learning wrong, but it was a dialect. Torta ain't torta everywhere. Yeah, absolutely, right. Absolutely, absolutely right. Because I speak to some people, some Costeños here, and I bow out. I don't understand a word that they say because the dialects are different, right? Venezuelan dialect is different than Colombian dialect. In parts of Colombia, the dialect is different. So again, it's just a matter of you can pick up the context and also,
But let me ask you this though. This is the thing though. Yeah. Let me ask you this: when there are different dialects, what do you do in that situation? Do you not say, "Look," and they're talking, I'm just going to talk my Spanish, what I know. And do they understand? Do they understand what you're saying? Is what I want to know.
Yeah. There's no. I don't have any challenge, because what I've found is that when you speak, right, even if if you believe that you speak poorly, the fact that you're speaking to them in Spanish, they will just all inhibitions go, and then they're just talking.
Yeah, I mean, they're super excited the fact that you're even speaking Spanish. You're from the United States. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I get it all the time, bro. I know how it feels. It's a great feeling for them. And then I think that just goes back to number 5. We gotta move to number 4, but number 5 just makes you a global citizen because people appreciate that you actually accept their culture and you accept their language, and you're trying to make that connection. And
Yeah.
I was on the previous live stream last week, I was saying that I focus on building bridges to connect cultures.
That's
And
powerful.
my bridge is being able to be the vessel to teach, black men in Black America and black kids and black people and people in general. If they reach out to me, I'm gonna work with them. Now this is a little point that nobody knows about, but I was born el 25 de diciembre. They call me Jesus Negro around these streets. So I was born on the 25th. I was born on the 25th of December. Now I don't claim the fame. I got some sins in me now, but I was born on the 25th of December. But I still feel like I need to reach out to the people, right? And so that's one of the things that I do is I just reach out to people. That's my gift. That's what I wanted to do. And I feel like language is that thing that can bring us together. And I thought about it. I talked about it with someone today, and I felt like, how can we bring Black people from all over the world back together, right? We all have our different thoughts, we all have our different, opinions of things, and we don't like Nigerians. Nigerians don't like so-and-so, and this, that, and Black people don't like this, and Black, how do we bring everybody back together, right? It's starting to come together. And I think language could be one of those opportunities where we can unite people back together to build that bridge to connect cultures. And that's what I focus on. That's always been my thing since 2017. And I've been diehard on it. And I think where we are working towards right now and having this discussion is actually helping people to come together, because I've seen it happen since COVID. Oh man, people are coming together and actually saying, you know what? How can I connect to a different culture that looks like me, right? And they know, oh man, well, they speak Spanish. That ain't really hard to figure out. Can I learn Spanish too? That's the connection. And they make that connection. And it's a beautiful connection, right? As you know personally. I mean, now you live in Bogota. So, I mean, married, hey, it's crazy. So where are we at? Where we got number 4? What do you got number 4? Yes, I want to pull up on the
what is your number 4?
Okay. So I think my number 4, and I got to pull it together. So let me see here, because I had something that somebody said earlier today. Let me see here. Hold on a second. Okay, so I think mine was more so a career advancement aspect, and how knowing another language, and not necessarily Spanish, but since we're talking about being bilingual, not necessarily Spanish, but being bilingual in the United States or in UK, because I had some, direct conversation with a young lady today about being bilingual. But being bilingual in the United States or the UK is something that is not prevalent amongst African Americans or Afro Brits. And that's where we bring the numbers in. That's where I wanted you to bring those numbers in and talk about it. But career advancement, I don't think people realize, and I was talking to a gentleman today, I don't think people realize what it does for you when you are able to speak another language. It sends you from the main floor to 2 floors up. Now it's like, so-and-so can do this. He speaks another language. That means we can give him more responsibility, and we can try him with this on top of the fact that he can speak another language.
Yeah.
And people look at me where they're like, well, why didn't you do that? Well, my job is to teach you the language to get to where you can go. Don't worry about where I am on this floor. I'm down here to teach you, to get you to where you need to be at. That's my calling, right? Don't worry about what my calling is. And people don't understand, like, there's levels to situations, right? Your calling may be math, right? Your calling may be science. But if I can teach you Spanish and math or Spanish and science and get you to that next level, my job is done. You move on. It's like that movie, the Nintendo game I used to play on Kung Fu. It was a basic game, but once you move to a level, you were on a different level. You kept doing the next thing. So people have to understand career advancement is easy when you know, and you can say, hey, I have a basic fluency in Spanish. Basic, there's a level to that, right? They ain't expecting you to know a whole lot. Basic fluency could be, hey, my name is so-and-so, welcome to so-and-so, right? That might be your basic fluency. You've got conversational fluency where you can, hey, can you fill out this form before we send you back to the, so-and-so, right? Basic fluency. Conversational fluency. Then you've got your advanced levels of fluency, right? Where we can actually hold a conversation for 30 minutes, back and forth. And those are the levels that you want to work to. So you can get to it, but to get you in the door is by focusing on and having that basic fluency, right? You get that basic level of fluency. Like one of my clients, swear to sweet Jesus, he told me yesterday, I said, hey, man, being that you're a first responder, do they pay for you to take professional development classes? He said, oh, yeah, absolutely. I said, are you using that to pay for your classes with me? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay, say less. Right. So we got first responders out here being able to use their money the way they want to as far as from an educational standpoint. What does that do for the first responder in that situation? Oh, you're fluent in Spanish? Boom, now you're a chief.
Yep.
Just that quick. Is it, so we gotta understand what knowing a language is just as good as being able to, compute math at this point in 2024. It's at, it's getting to that point, and I've always, that's a whole nother, I was getting ready to go into something else. That's a whole nother episode, but yeah. That's my thing. Career advancement. So, okay. We got some comments. People chiming in here. I don't know if you want to check it.
Yeah,
I was always like that. I was like, man, let's I always want to check them at the end. If you're watching this on the replay type thing, but I learned I'm gonna chop it up. I'm gonna chop it and chop and screw it like them boys Paul Wall and them do it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. I can't pronounce Balkan Traveler. Is that right? Balkan Traveler.
Balkan Traveler. Yeah.
Balkan Traveler.
I like it.
It's sad that the U.S. is so insular still, and other languages and cultures were never given attention. Yeah, I would agree with that. He continues to say, it's not good if you plan to travel abroad, and most people outside North America understand 2 or more languages. Laugh out loud.
So let's talk about this for a second. So I just tweeted something that I've been using for, I think it's been like 8 years. Do you remember the video? It was a YouTube video. It was posted on YouTube, but it was live that former President Barack Obama did when he was talking about, Americans going overseas, or we have immigrants coming into the United States, and we saying, oh, you should learn Spanish, you should learn English, and we go overseas and we go to France, and all we can say is merci beaucoup. That it was like maybe we should learn a language, and that was the mindset. Was we as Americans, as United States citizens, I hate saying Americans because we got to think that Canadians are Americans. We've got to think that Mexicans are Americans. Correct. A lot of people don't know, but it's the United States. It's the United States of Mexico. They don't really know the governmental name of it, but it's Los Estados Unidos de Mexico, right? That's the actual name. But, we got Central Americans. We got South Americans. So everybody's American. So we have to, bring it down a little bit and say United States citizens. As United States citizens, we go across the world and expect people, and we ask this question. This is one of the things I was talking to the young brother that was a Haitian Creole. He would say, man, I've been in scenarios where people would, we get off the plane and Americans would say, hey, do you speak English? Like, bro, you in a whole nother country and you asking somebody if they speak the language where you came from.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how disrespectful is that? That you didn't take the chance. Not only did you ask them, do you speak, you asked it in English, do they speak English? You didn't even take the time out to figure out how to ask them in their language, do they speak English?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's just an American mindset.
Yes, it really is. It really is.
And it's beat into us from the powers that be. They have, hey man, we are the one, and we aren't. We really aren't. And in 2024, we're seeing it happen fast paced. There was a map that somebody put up that showed me the languages that are up and coming across the United States in the various regions, where it's showing like Vietnamese is popping off in states like Texas, and that's like next to English and Spanish. Vietnamese is like the next largest language being spoken. Mm-hmm. So it's not about Spanish per se,
right?
Even though you probably should start, taking a chance on it, but I think people have to realize you've got to start thinking from a global perspective. Now that we have this internet thing, global perspectives are important. What do we got here?
Says I was reading a Mexican food truck menu in a black neighborhood, and Mexicans were.
I like the fact that he said he was reading a Mexican food truck menu in a black neighborhood. That right there, it says a lot in itself. Okay, go ahead.
And the Mexicans were excited to hear me pronounce the words correctly because it's uncommon to see black men speak their language.
Oh man, I want to say first off, before you say anything, Cortez Smith, you should have recorded that and put it on TV or on some type of social media platform. That would have been amazing. That would have been awesome to see that though. I got a similar story, and I never pulled my camera out on it because I've got to get over that. I feel like exploiting. I don't, there was hella black exploitation going on back in the 70s, and the movies that we seen, it was like black exploitation. But now I feel like it's black Mexican exploitation. And I'm like, hey, look at me ordering, these tacos in Spanish. I don't want to be that dude, man. I swear I don't want to be that dude. But my brother be like, hey, man, we need real world scenario situation. Put me where you can say, hey, man, you ordered, hey, I'm getting ready to fill my tank up with gas, and then and I asked, hey, how much does it cost to fill the tank? And I'm like, yeah. I don't want to put people on the spot like that, but yes, I understand what he's saying right there. And man, that's it.
But I'm trying. Let's talk about that though. I mean, how else are people? I mean, people use YouTube University. That's what we call it, right? YouTube University.
Yes, absolutely. That's what we call it.
They use that in order to learn. So if people that follow you, if they see that could be something that can inspire. You never know what you do that can inspire someone to go to the next level.
This is true. And I got to get beside, that's that humility standpoint that I was talking about earlier. So now that I'm that guy, right? And I've been that guy, but I haven't been the guy to be on camera, right? I have a great personality. Don't get me wrong. I'm an extrovert. I love to be around people. But when it comes to me recording, that stuff is hard for me.
Like, yeah, and I hear you, but that's kind of, I mean, this is your passion. This is what you do, and so it's almost as though when you don't turn the camera on, you're being selfish.
Exactly. And I'm a selfish person, apparently. So, but look. I swear to sweet Jesus. I did it the other day, right? I did it the other day, and this is maybe Monday, Tuesday, something like this week.
Yeah.
I did the YouTube short about the weather. You remember I did the weather one, right?
Yes, sir.
And I said,
your shorts are hilarious, by the way. They're hilarious, bro.
Yeah. Oh man, I tried, but I'm just like, I gotta make this And my brother, he's always like, bro, I need real practical things. Like that's what's going to help me. So I was like, all right, cool. So I said, let me do one. And I changed, scenes, not in the background. I don't have the same background. I said, let me talk about the weather, right? So if I'm going to talk about the weather, I got to be outside. So I said, okay, let me talk about the weather and then say what the degrees are. And I want to bring people into an idea of, if I want to say the weather is nice, blah, blah, blah. And I think there's certain things that latch on to certain people, right? When it comes to education. Some people want to know certain things, and I'm working my way. People have patience with me because I've asked questions in the community posts, and people have said, "Oh man, I need to know some healthcare stuff. Can you help me out with healthcare? I need to know first responder stuff. I need to know, customer service stuff. I need to know, I got a lot coming at me, so it's going to be a minute, for me to, be okay with me putting myself in that situation to make that type of content. But I'm working on it. I got some stored up. It's coming tonight. I'm gonna release some in the morning, but I'm gonna have some shorts going, and but I'm just glad to get on here and talk about the things that we need to be doing, right? As far as from a beneficial standpoint. And I think we are doing a service to a lot of people that have been trying to figure out what it is that's beneficial. Why should I even be learning Spanish, right?
Well, yeah, and want to shout out to the great one. Thank you for the super chat. Hola, mi hermanos. Hola, ¿cómo te va? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Estás bien?
Bien, gracias.
Muchísimas gracias. I want to change viewpoint just for 1 second.
Yeah.
We hear a lot of brothers, they call it passport brothers, that are going abroad for whatever reason, right?
Who cares? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. You got your passport. Yeah. You do you, right?
You mind your business. Yeah. You mind your business. I ain't worried about it. Yeah.
Exactly. As the global nomad says, you go where you feel most appreciated. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wherever it is that you go in the world, it's always a good idea to have, as Profi Don Omar says, a basic understanding of the language. Because when you don't understand the language and you go there, you stand out. And one of the things that I've learned, one of the things that has helped me here in South America, in Colombia in particular, is that if I'm low profile and I blend in, it's a lot safer.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, so why is it safer though? I want to know why it's safer though.
Well, there is something that's called gringo prices, right? So so
they got those.
Yeah. So let's say, for instance, I want a beer. I don't drink beer a lot, but let's say I want a beer. So normal beer would be 1,500 pesos, right? 1,500 pesos, right? But in some areas that you go to, that same beer might be 6,000, 8,000, right? Instead of 1,500 pesos, it's going to be 8,000 pesos. That's the gringo price. Right. And so if
now, dude, let me ask you this. So, because I'm Scrooge McDuck when it comes to money, though. I'm like, I'm not an econ major, I'm not a math major, but I know my coins, though. I know my coins.
That was one of my favorite cartoons, Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah, oh man. What? When Scrooge and them kids came and it was diving into money, I was gonna be Scrooge McDuck. Yeah, absolutely. That was a jump. 4:00. Oh yes, sir. I was in there, but I digress. But the thing is this: I want to ask you this. So when you walk into a location, right, or they have maybe perhaps if you go somewhere they have it on the wall. Do they automatically hit you with the gringo price? Knowing they got a Spanish menu and and they got a menu, and they got a menu. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
They got a menu, and they got a menu. You know, and they automatically hit you with the English version.
Yeah, that's what happened very early on, but that doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen anymore. You know,
So
my wife would tell me,
that you walk in by yourself, or is it because you walk in with your wife?
I can when I walk in by myself, they will hand me the Spanish menu.
But that's because they know you in them streets, though. They know Profe is coming, though. That's what that is. They know.
Right?
Here it comes. You know, I'm talking about like, so how do you go into a new spot? Say we go up to Strata 6, right?
Yeah.
Go up the street to Strata 6. You get on the bus, you go up to Strata 6, it's Strata 6 or whatever y'all call it up there, or down there. But you go up there or down there. I don't even know the direction, but I'm just saying you get there, you walk into a restaurant, right? Yeah. Solo, you by yourself. And how do you get into a scenario where's the beneficial factor of knowing Spanish at that point when you walk in and they hand you the gringo menu and not the menu in Espanol, the menu in Espanol?
That's a good question.
I think that's what we all want to know, because I mean, I know what I'm gonna do. I hate to be that guy, but I know what I'm gonna do. But I want to know what you're gonna do. As somebody that has learned Spanish not from an academic background.
Right. What I've found is we can spot as they say, a gringo a mile away, because it's the way they carry themselves. It's the way they carry themselves, right?
Right.
That
also what you're wearing, but we're not. I digress. But yeah.
That's a.
You can't walk out there with this on, like, oh, here he goes.
No. And a lot of times, and I think Andre said this, when he was in Europe, you don't have a ball cap with
NY on it or something like that.
Yeah. I'm not wearing Nelia, stuff like that.
Yeah.
They do this because they love football, so they'll see like Adidas jumper or something like that. But it's just, for me, it's just the way that you carry yourself, or the way that you conduct yourself.
Yes.
People here, they speak to you, right? They'll say hello, or good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, right? And a lot of times foreigners are not accustomed to that, right?
Especially depending on where they're from. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so when you go somewhere and you'll say, buenas tardes, buenos dias, or something like that, they can pick up the accent and know, okay, well, you're a foreigner, right? But because you're speaking Spanish, they're going to give you the menu. That's been my experience. Now, if I come in, I don't say anything, and I just sit down, right? They might just give me the menu.
Yeah. I don't even think people realize there's a menu and a menu. Word of the day, ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, menu.
Yeah. Cortez,
same thing, but not the same thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Cortez says blending is safer, and then Balkan travel. This always happens wherever they smell you're not a local.
This is true. This is true. This is very true. It's like, oh man, I can smell it on him. Yeah. It smells like Tide detergent. Yeah. No. I'm not going that far, but yeah.
Right. You're right.
I understand what you're saying though. So what would we say if we had to move to number 3?
All right.
I'm still waiting on those numbers, Econ, Profe, but
Okay, well, I'll give it to you right quick. Give it to you quick.
Okay.
And this kind of goes back to what Balkan Traveler was saying, is that when I pulled up what he said here. He said half of the U.S. used to speak Spanish, Southwest and Florida. The Spaniards there intermarried with Anglos, I guess, so it disappeared into the late 20th immigration, Cubans, Mexicans, etc. So
Mhm.
he's probably correct. But there are a lot of people that live in the U.S. that may be from let's say that they're of Latin descent.
Okay.
They don't speak Spanish.
Right.
96% of the U.S. population does not speak anything other than English.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Okay. Okay.
And so
okay.
when you have,
I want you to say that number again because I don't know if people realize.
yeah,
96%.
96%.
Number, the greatness
96%,
on that number.
96%. 96%. 96% of the American population, of the United States population, I won't say American population, of the United States population can only speak one language, and that's English.
So let's break that down. When we say the United States population, you're talking about U.S. citizens, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about people born and
raised
in the U.S.
Yeah, parents are born and raised in the U.S.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Gotcha.
Because I was refereeing some soccer games and I heard I heard in the stands Spanish, and so while I'm refereeing, I'm trying to figure out which parents and which kid are they talking to, right? And so this was in Ohio, and so I got a chance to find out who the kid was. I'm talking to the kids. I'm talking to the parents. The kid can't speak Spanish. He understands some of the words, but he can't speak it. He only speaks English, and he has no accent. No type of accent.
Spanish accent. Yeah.
No Spanish accent.
Yeah.
And it's like
he's got a U.S. accent. Yeah.
And
U.S.
so
American accent.
A lot of people in the U.S. that are from abroad, the second generation, they lose all that. They lose all that, and so it goes back to what you were saying in terms of being connected.
Let's talk about that though. Let's talk about that though.
Yeah, I mean, being connected.
Do they lose it? Because there's a scenario. There's a scenario in which we about to uncover a lot of stuff that we talk about right here. Because they don't necessarily lose it as much as the parents tell them to lose it.
You know what? That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Because I have friends that I learned Spanish from, and it was broken Spanish. But they said the reason why I don't trust my Spanish or I don't speak great Spanish is because my parents told me to only speak English. But they spoke to me in Spanish.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, what did you do when it was time for you to respond to them? Did you respond to Spanish? Yeah. They said, yeah, I used the Spanish that I knew. But when I was out here in these, American U.S. streets, I had to speak English. There was I couldn't use Spanish. I had to use what I knew in English. Yeah. The only Spanish that was heard for me was in my household or, the bodegas or whatever. But that was it. That was the only Spanish that I heard. But when I got outside of those areas, I had to use English.
Yeah.
And I said, whoa, that was deep because that even goes back to like things like the West Side Story, the movie, like where they were saying, hey, we want you to suppress the Spanish and build up your English. But, hey, man, this ain't a historical channel. This ain't the History Channel. So we're not going to talk about it. So, but anyways, that but it goes, it's circulatory. It's revolutionary. That has been happening since the dawn of ages when it comes to Spanish. So I get it, bro. I totally get that from a standpoint, and that number is astronomical. Now, I know you brought that number in from an American standpoint, from a U.S. citizen standpoint. How do we draw that in? Let's dive in deeper though. Econ pro faith. How do we dive in? Oh, you got somebody up here. What
Camila 718. Exacto. Both my parents are Panamanian, and they wanted us to assimilate as much as possible. No Spanish spoken at home.
See, there we go. There we go. Shout out to Camille or Camille. Camille, maybe. Camille. I don't know. Camille. They had to speak English, so Camille, maybe it's Camille now. I don't know.
Pero ella dice exacto. Ella le dije exacto, Solo una palabra
I
en
don't know
español.
now.
Exacto.
Yeah, so Camilla, I like to know that. Is it Camille or Camilla? That in her name in itself. That's a perfect example of what happens though.
Now Spanish seen as a bug plus. I'm not quite
That's
sure
a
what
new
that
word
means.
for me. I think that's a European thing.
Big
Travel,
plus
you
on
got
the
a
resume. Okay.
big plus. Oh, yeah.
Thank
I'm
you,
gonna
Balkan
say,
Travel.
man, we don't know that over here in the United States. The bug plus. I'm like, bro,
Right.
I'm like,
So
I don't know that one.
so here you've expressed several of mine, a couple of mine, but I want to throw this in on here, and this is going to be kind of economics and not economics. Okay.
I mean, I think we should throw economics in on it though. So because we don't learn today.
Well, there are cognitive benefits for being bilingual.
Yes, very much so.
And it can improve. It could be improve cognition skills. It can include better memory, attention, multitasking abilities. And for African Americans, these cognitive advantages can contribute to academic and professional success, providing an edge in environments where problem solving and adaptability are key. It also can slow the onset of
Alzheimer's.
Dementia. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What I've found recently.
That's why I learned Spanish hard, bro. That's why I learned it as fast as I could.
What I've learned, I
wanted to delay the onset of Alzheimer's dementia as fast as I could, though. That was my thing. Gotcha. Absolutely. Gotcha. Absolutely. That was my main thing. I didn't know about the other stuff. I knew about those too. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
When did you start dreaming in Spanish?
Wow, great question. So I would say it actually, for me, it was I was doing study abroad, and I had a wild old head again. This is an old head moment, but if people
wait a minute. When you say old head, how old are you, man?
46. Tengo 46 años. So,
46?
For the people in the streets, 46. Yeah, 46. So, but when I say old head moment, I was older than the people in the house. That's the situation. It's a real world. Remember the TV show Real World? The only, I can only think back to like Heather B, and, the dudes that was on there, the dude that's a wrestler, whatever. Anyways, real world. So, real world situation, right? I'm living in a house. We've got a older lady that actually owns the house, but there's like 8 people in the house, right? Everybody speaks English except no, everybody spoke English, but there was one dude that was from like Guerrero, and this is in Guadalajara. But I think me being around that environment, and I was I guess it was I was in my 20s because I was in grad school, and I was studying abroad in grad school, not undergrad. And for me to be in that environment, I didn't consider myself fluent at all. I was able to converse, but I didn't feel that I was fluent. But there was probably maybe a week or 2 weeks in of constant running with Leo, my roommate, or the guy that was in the housemate, running with him constantly every day. 2 weeks in, oh yeah, straight Spanish dreams. And people like, oh man, like a whole dream. Like, I don't know if it was a whole dream. Like, it wasn't a novela playing, through my head or whatever. But I was able to hear and think about words in Spanish. Now, does it happen right now for me? People say, well, do you get them all the time? It depends. It's like a calling. I don't know, man. Like it happens, it doesn't happen. I mean, it just happens. I have, I don't even, at 46, I don't even know what I thought about yesterday, at this point. So when we're talking about dreaming, if I get one, I'm appreciative. If I get a dream, at this point now. So man.
You're just a baby. Tengo 61.
Right. Man, I appreciate it.
Yo tengo
that's why this
61.
beard gonna be black tomorrow, though. When I do these shorts after, I'm gonna darken up this beard tomorrow, baby.
¿Me escuchas?
Yeah.
¿Me escuchas?
Yeah.
Yo tengo 61.
Uh, But shout out to you, bro. You look good
Yes.
for sister. But you in that
61.
football
So
every day. You in that football.
yeah, so I got to get rid of this beard too. I think I'm too vain to color it though. So,
Well, that's
so
that's how we do. But everybody's la mujer dice, oh, es muy bien. Don't change it. Don't change it. And then you
yeah,
listen to them, but then you like,
it's
but
sabiduría,
I,
sabiduría,
I would
wisdom.
change mine tomorrow. I mean, my daughter was like, "You look like Santa Claus. You got like white stuff coming out." I'm like, "Hey man, when the 5-year-old tell you like Santa Claus and you ain't but 46, yeah, I'm about to change mine. This be all black tomorrow." Yeah, yes. Yeah.
So,
But anyways, I digress. We ain't gonna get on here on the personal stuff. What we got right here?
Afroon, out of Chicago, Illinois, USA. I am 73 years old and teaching
Shut up.
myself basic Spanish. I need help in becoming bilingual ASAP. Thanks for your video, ASC.
Man,
Okay.
I say, yeah. Absolutely. And I think that's a good thing about it, man. That and for me, and I'm gonna tell you what changed. Okay, so a lot of people don't know background, right? Background. The story is this. I told this story, Todd. So Profe Todd, you got to get the story, the end, the real deal, right here.
Okay. All right.
So we had COVID hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. COVID hit in March 13th, 2020. That's when it shut down in the high school I was teaching at, right?
Okay.
The state of North Carolina shut down schools on March 13th, 2020. We went home. I started teaching online high school students, right? But I was still running my LLC, which started in 2017. No problem. Whatever. Fast forward to 2022. Both of my parents get sick. Both of my parents pass within 5.5 months of each other, right? So my mom passed on February 15th, 2022. My dad passed on July 27th, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Had I started, I think I started YouTube in March of 2022.
Mm.
But it was off the fuel of I needed something to get my mind off of my mom passing, right? So I started, YouTube and teaching. Because I'd already had experience doing the virtual component, teaching online anyway, right? I was teaching online anyway. And so I said, okay, well, I'll start teaching online or whatever and doing the YouTube thing. And then I said, okay, this is not bad. It's not a bad situation. So I said, let me keep going. Well, my dad passed in July. Most people like, man, I'm gonna stop. You're gonna shut it down. But my dad was the one that was like, hey, man, you ever thought about doing YouTube? And he asked me that like years ago. Like, man, I'm talking about pre-2000, probably when YouTube first came out, like 05, 06. He was like, hey, man, you ever thought about getting on that YouTube? I was like, nah. Like, why would I do it? Yeah, just get out there and put some lessons on there and just teach people. And I said, man, why would I do that? I got a whole job where I go do that. Hindsight 2020. So here I am today on YouTube. Shout out to my people, my parents. But so I say all that to say this: the thing about the age bracket and the ranges. I now, because I left the school system in 2022, because I don't believe in the United States system of how they teach foreign language. And I'm okay with saying that. And that's a personal decision. And if they don't hire me back, I'm good. Like I don't have to worry about the fact that they don't agree with the way I agree how they teach foreign language and what they're focusing on. And so now I work on focusing on teaching kids from age 4 to adults that are 74, 75. I've got older adults that work with me, that we work according to what works for you. And I work on your level and your age group and your age bracket and what's important to you. What do you want to know? Right. The thing with me in class was I had to teach this particular perspective to every kid, and every kid is not the same. And I don't agree with the fact that we had to teach a foreign language to a kid that wasn't really picking up on that. So, needless to say, everybody can learn on their own level, and you can pick it up from a toddler to an older person. It's not that you can't pick it up; you just don't have the guidance on how to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's glory right there. That's glory right there.
So Afrun says, "Hola mis amigos, ¿cómo estás? Estamos bien, muchísimas gracias."
Buenas noches.
Sí.
Buenas noches.
I think that's a good point, because a lot of times what people normally say is that it's easier for kids to pick up a foreign language than it is adults, and it's that could be somewhat true.
I don't believe it. I don't believe.
Well, no, I mean, I would just say that could be somewhat true from this particular standpoint, that younger kids are only focused on learning the language, right, to communicate. They're not focused on other things that required to live. So, right. I mean, if you're just singly focused on one thing, of course it would be easier, regardless of your age. Regardless of your age, right?
So I'm gonna give you both scenarios because I have a 5-year-old with me, but I probably go check on her. She probably, I don't know, she might have dug a basement at this point. But having a 5-year-old from birth, when she was born, out the gate, I would sing a song to her that was just greetings in Spanish. And, it would be buenos dias, ¿cómo estás? Yo estoy bien. I was basic Spanish, right? Just to train her ear, right? These are the same thing. People have to understand that language starts when it starts. It doesn't matter what your age is.
Correct.
So if I start whispering or singing in your ear at 72, and I sing a song to you at 72 every day, the song that I sung to a newborn every day, the same song, it's going to give you the same results. Now, granted, you're going to be like, oh, it's easier for them to take. No, it's not. Because if I sing it to you every day at the age of 72, and I sing it every day to somebody that's 18 months old, you're going to get the same result, because you're going to either get tired of me singing in your ear and you're going to either say, okay, I got the song now, right? So it's people say, oh, you pick it up faster. No, you just get more repetition, and you're cognizant of the fact that you're getting something every day. A baby is not cognizant of the fact that they're getting it every day because they don't know any different. An adult knows, because I'm getting these conversations over and over again. They get tired of it, and their mind says, I want to shut down. I don't want to get it anymore. A baby's not going to do that. They don't know any different. Exactly. So we've got to understand the differences about people saying, oh, man, I'm older, I can't get it. Yeah, you can. You just got to know when to say when, right? Correct. Open your mind up, and then you can pick it up. What do we got here?
Camilla agrees. I agree that it is the method used which helps you retain and master. Kids learn language without worrying about reading and writing, but that is how we're forced to learn it in school. Yeah, I mean, I teach people English here, Spanish speakers English, and they want to be focused on grammar. I'm like, no, we're not going to focus on grammar right now. You're brand new to the language. We're just going to speak, right?
Right. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to give you a long list of verbs and then all the verbs. And that's how I kind of first learned Spanish. I mean, I was looking at cards and learning all the verbs, but it's like when you can know the verbs, but if you don't know how to put sentences together in a normal conversation, knowing all the verbs then you get stuck. It's like, okay, which verb am I supposed to use? Stop it. Just go with the flow.
I want to give, that's a grammar thing that let's jump into it. So, because we run into time up on this one, bro. But I want to say,
maybe we need to do a part two. Maybe we need a part two. What you think?
the part two is coming, baby. The part two is coming. But we gotta get our five out. We gotta get these five out. But I want to agree with you on the concept of the fact that you can't learn a language by learning conjugations. You can't learn a language just by learning vocabulary.
Right.
You can't learn a language by not putting them together. You got to understand how to put them together, right? So the benefit of being bilingual, let's go back to it. The benefit of being bilingual is, and from this standpoint, when you get words together, I want you to understand that you've got to be able to converse, have a conversation. It could be 25 seconds long, but have that conversation. It could be, man, you know what? I'm going to take my Duolingo info that I learned today, which was, ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo te llamas? I'm going to take that. I'm going to use that at Exxon, right? I'm going to go to Exxon. I'm going to go to the Shell, the Quick Trip, the QT, wherever you live at, wherever your gas station is, and it's, man, I see somebody that might look. See, this is the problem. People got so many hangups in America, man. You ain't got to worry about this in Bogota, but in America, we got hangups. So people are like, man, I don't want to say nothing to that dude, man. He looked like he speaks Spanish, but I don't know. I don't really want to say nothing to him. And then when I say something, he gonna look at me crazy. You already breaking yourself down from the fact that you don't even know how Jose or Jesus or Pedro or Pablo, how they gonna react.
Yep.
You already telling yourself, man, he gonna look at me crazy when I say something to him, blah, 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 this and that third. You know me? Profe Don Omar. Hey. Oh yeah. ¿Cómo te va? ¿Qué estás haciendo allá? Hey. I'm just saying, ¿qué vamos a hacer aquí? I'm just going to say something.
Right.
It don't matter what just say something, right? Oh, there was a song. Who had that song? I want to say it was, Timberland. Say something. That was that's another area, but you got to be able to put yourself behind you. That's deep. Put yourself behind you. And get out there and focus on what you can do with the language, and just be okay with making a mistake. That's the big, man. That's the
huge.
Big one. And if people can realize that, man, I could actually do something with this if I would not be worried about how it was perceived by the person receiving it. Oh man. What are we talking about?
You have to be willing to make mistakes, and that's how you learn, right?
Yeah, pride is hard.
It's Diallo Ferguson. Cuando podemos hacer un Zoom.
Hey.
Is that for you? ¿Tienes clases en Zoom?
I think so. Entonces vamos a hacer un Zoom. Un momentito. Entonces envíame un email, por favor. Envíame un email. I gotta put it in the chat, I guess. Yeah, we can do that and talk about it. But yeah, so while we're talking, Noop. So let's focus on. I want you to hit that number. I don't think we've hit the number yet. You talked about Americans, but I want to hit the number that I brought everybody to the yard. We brought the people to the yard for one number and one number only. How many African Americans speak more than one language? Isn't that the number that you had?
Yeah, the number I had was less than 1%.
Whoo! Say it for the people in the back.
The number that I had was less than 1%, because if we look at the U.S. population, right? We said that the U.S. population, we said was 94%, 96% only speak English, and so I kind of broke that down in further, looking at that the U.S. population of African Americans in the U.S. is 12%, and so the way that I had it calculated is less than 1% of African Americans speak more than one language. And that is, people who identify as African Americans, but not, they identify as anything other than African Americans. It is this separates you, right? Again,
Yes.
going back to what you were talking about in employment, this separates you even further for additional opportunities, right? I can't tell you, when I walk into the classroom, I'm an economics professor. I've been an economics professor for 24 years.
Right.
Also, I'm a life coach, using economics and Scrum and OODA Loop and all these different things to kind of help my clients transform their lives. Being bilingual has helped in all those areas. When I walk into a classroom, I have some Spanish speakers in my class. I have Brazilians in my class. When I start speaking economics and I'm speaking in a foreign language, they're more attentive, and it helps them to have greater understanding, because there might be a concept they don't understand. If I'm able to explain it to them in Spanish, the light bulb goes off.
Yes, sir. I'm with you. And so the thing is this, so what we have to understand is, and I think that brings us not to necessarily your number 3, but for me, knowing another language, a benefit of knowing another language outside of your native language helps you understand your own language even more.
It really does.
and let me break that down to you, because people are not going to understand what I'm talking about. So when I say learning another language, let me repeat that. Learning another language, albeit Spanish, Portuguese, Alemán, Italiano, Francés, whatever the language is, you learn those languages. Once you learn that language, it's going to help you understand your native language even more. Prime example, I never knew what a direct object was from grade 1 or kindergarten, but grade 1 to 12. I never knew what a direct object was in English.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm okay with that. I found peace. And I know what an indirect object was. Not ashamed to say it. Didn't know. Found peace. The only things I did know: subject, verb, predicate, whatever they called it. Yeah, subject, verb. Okay, got that. Adjective. Boom. I went K through 12. Subject, verb, adjective. That's a doggone shame. Adverb. Throw the adverb in. I got an adverb like lately, usually. Okay, so adverbs. Subject, verb. Oh, and I'm not the only one. Please believe me. There's some people that's gonna watch this. They're gonna be like, "Oh man, there's more." Wait, there's more than that. So when I learned Spanish, though, oh boy, did I learn? When I learned Spanish, I learned, oh wow, we have all this in Spanish, in English. We got direct objects, we got indirect objects, we got adverbs, we got reflexive verbs, we got pronouns, we got, oh yeah, I gotta add the pronouns. I don't want to shortchange my English teacher, so shout out to Miss Price, but I did learn pronouns too. But we got subject pronouns, and these are the things that start going in deep. Predicate, when they say, we get tenemos el pretérito, imperfecto, el modo indicativo, or el modo indicativo, el modo subjuntivo. We get all those, and I'm like, we got those in English? Yes, we do. Did we talk about them in English class? No, we didn't. Are you supposed to know them? Yeah, you should know them. Man, it's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how you learn, and that's my number 3. The benefit of learning another language. Mm-hmm. You learn your native language even more. That's my benefit
Okay.
for it. And that probably, and man, and I was a grown man. I was a grown man. And it made me a better speaker, a better person in life, being able to understand how to utilize my own native language, because I understood, oh, these are the words and how they're placed. Now, granted, I may say some things to people in English and they'll look at me like, bro, they'll look at me like I'm Yoda. You know, oh, that's the perfect one. Yoda. Like, why are you speaking like Yoda? Because I put nouns before adjectives. And so I'll say things and they'll look at me like, why did you supposed to put that before this to make it make sense? Hey, don't knock me because I understand another language.
Right.
Don't judge me, bro. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I get it. Yeah, absolutely.
And
that's
that goes to again when we talk about the cognitive benefits of learning a foreign language. I mean, just that switch, right? From putting the instead of the red table, the table red. You know, just making that switch causes it causes you to think. Sometimes, and this happens to me sometimes, and I don't know if it happens to you, is that I get caught in between English and Spanish. And so I'm like, I'm just stuck.
That you want to use the English, or
it's like I just get stuck. It's like, for example, I was looking at a ferreteria, and I could not remember. Huh?
You were looking at what?
Ferreteria, a hardware store.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You didn't translate it for the people, but yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You gotta give it to the people. Sometimes everybody don't know these the stores. We don't know the stores. Right. Everybody don't know the stores.
So I was looking for it. I mean, I saw the word and I knew what it was, but I was trying to figure out, I forgot what the English word was for, and I was stuck for 2 days.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You don't even live in America. You don't live in the United States. It's okay to be stuck.
But this is just the exercise that I have to go through to kind of keep sharp, right? Because this conversation
like Sudoku. Got you that. It's a homemade version of Sudoku. Got it. Makes sense. Hey, that's totally okay. How much you have to pay for your version of Sudoku?
It's free.
Okay, exactly. Okay. That's what I want people to understand. They people out here buying these apps, man. They buying these apps. Ooh, don't let me get to talking about these apps. Oh, because you know I want to talk about these apps, but I'm gonna hold it. I got something blazing. I'm getting ready to bring up.
I think we're on number 2 now.
What you did is exactly what people should do. Don't rely on a phone. Oh my God. Don't rely on a phone. But vice versa. I know you figured out the word in English. That was the situation. You were trying to think about what it was in English, right? My thing is for people that are trying to figure out things, and my clients, I tell them all the time, they develop a crutch. The crutch is, I want to look at my notes. And I'm like, you look at your notes when you're not looking at me. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, when we're together, we here.
Yeah.
The notes is for when we're not here.
There are no notes in the street.
Come on, say it again for the people in the back.
There are no notes in the street. There are no notes in the street. And Profi, you saw this, and this is kind of we're almost at number 1. But
okay.
I have a soccer club here. For people who don't know, I have a soccer club here in Colombia for the neighborhood kids called Colusa, Colombia, United States of America, right? And I am looking for sponsors, patrocinadores. I'm looking for sponsors. If anyone is interested, get with me. But and Profi was there, and he talked to the kids, and we started with 8 kids in a year ago in November, and now we have about 80 kids now. Thank God. And none of them.
More 80 kids when I came. But yeah, it was, y'all were building numbers, but whew,
yeah, we were building numbers.
I think y'all had about 25, maybe 25 when I was there in February last year.
Yeah, 25. Yeah, because 25. when you were there, and we grew it to 80, and then we actually were in
That's crazy.
a tournament,
Wow.
and they did well. They won the tournament actually.
Nice. Good stuff. Well, you got some quality coaches too, man. But we'll talk about that another day. We'll bring that back up another day.
But I have to speak to them in my pidgin English or my pidgin Spanish, right? And I have to speak to them, and they're talking to me. Hi, profiteo, da 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 da, and they're talking to me, and it's really what I love is that the kids are so innocent, and they're just talking to me, and they think that I understand, and so I have to really focus and listen, and they always understand if I say, you want to go get some ice cream, vamos a ir por al lado. Vamos. They understand that. But just those simple phrases has helped me immensely, just talking to kids.
So let me ask you this, and that's what I wanted to ask you about. Do you have programmed, as you are an analytical person, because you're right-handed, you're analytical, right? That's what they say about right-handed people. Right. They're analytical. They got left brain, correct. That's it. Do you have programmed phrases in your mind that I'm going to say this when I say this, when I say this, and when I say this?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, I know. It's no, because the phrases can change at any moment.
Yes, for example, life changes at any moment. Yes, indeed.
Like the guards here at the.
Well, let me ask you this though. When I say a program response is, when somebody says "que hubo," or when they say "cómo te llamas," or "cómo te llamas." Those are the program responses I'm talking about.
Usually, yes, I do.
And that was beginning stage for you. I mean, you're way ahead of everybody else. When I say everybody else, I'm saying people that don't, engage in Spanish conversation on daily basis. Though you got it different than everybody. I envy you for having the opportunity to having it. But I get my fix here in the States, but at the same time, I definitely appreciate the fact that you have that opportunity. But I'm saying for you in the beginning stages, when you started out, you had to have those responses or those questions at bay. You had to be ready to fire them off because you knew this question is going to come.
Yeah,
when I rock in, when I say somebody's going to say "de donde eres," "donde aprendiste español," they're going to ask you that.
Yeah. Donde eres? Yeah, Ohio. Yeah.
Right.
Donde eres? Ohio.
And so what I call that, and this is one of my things that I talk about being bilingual. A benefit of being bilingual is knowing that as a Black American, as an African American, if you aren't, maybe Catholics. I don't know. Are you Catholic?
No.
All right. So they got some Catholics out here that might do this too. But from a Baptist standpoint, around here in the South, right? So we have what we call Easter speeches. And I talk about it in my ebook, but an Easter speech, right? I'm going to get into the Easter speech, baby. I got to leave the Easter speech on everybody. The Easter speech is a situation where, and if you're Greek, you might know it from a Greek standpoint as well, though. So when you probate, it's the same situation, right? We got to rap kappa. You got to be able to spit knowledge, right? You got to know the memory is on your brain. You got to know what it is, right? From the top of the head, you can't read it off anywhere, right? Same concept. Know the Easter speech. I learned it at the age of 3. Some people learn it at the age of 19, 20. But regardless, the Easter speech is this. I learned my Easter speech verbatim, pages, right? It's a page, and I got to know it's a verse or it's a speech, whatever. I got to know it like the back of my hand, right? Got to know it like the back of my hand. So when I got out there on Easter Sunday, and it was, okay, Omar, you go take the stage, you go, tell your Easter speech. pop it off, right? Same concept that I utilized as a grown man when I started using Spanish or German or Portuguese. I knew I got to have these 10 questions in my mind, ready to go. I know they're going to ask me these 10 questions. When they ask me these 10 questions, I got to have an answer for them. These are the particular 10 questions that they possibly going to ask me. Yeah, now bringing the probate shows in there. Hey, I'm sorry. Yeah, it came back, but I'm just saying though. But anyways, I had my 10 answers for the 10 popular questions. You know how they say, what is it, like Family Feud, where they say, we asked a survey of 100 people, X, Y, and Z questions. I got all my questions ready to go. So when I would travel to these countries and people would say, hey, man, donde aprendiste español? I had my question. I had my answer. I knew they were going to answer. I'm ready, baby. I got it for you, right? And then they said, I tell them, I told them I watched, telenovelas and Netflix, and they're like, it's now at that point they're like intrigued, But then they're like, oh, so what? But before that, the question is, where are you from? That's the first one. I always know. It's like a game plan. It's like being an offensive coordinator on a football team. I got the game plan. I know what you're going to ask, baby. Yeah, I'm right here. Okay, play 1, play 2, and I'm just going through. And that's what I want people to understand and develop for themselves when they start to get out here on this pathway to learning Spanish. Develop your game plan. And a benefit to being bilingual is having your game plan. How are you setting yourself up to become bilingual? Right? That's what we want to know. How are you setting yourself up to become bilingual? And if you're not setting yourself up properly, talk to me. I got you. I can help you out, though. I can give you the truth. Or Prophet can give you the truth. He lives in the city of Bogota. So everybody's got something. So absolutely.
What's interesting for me is that when I do go back to the States, I seek Spanish speakers. I go specifically to talk, because at this particular point where I am, and I can't explain.
When you were living here, though, did you see him before?
I wasn't looking for him like I am now.
Yeah.
But what I prefer speaking in Spanish now than I do English, which is kind of interesting, right?
That might say it again for the people in the back.
I at this point I prefer speaking in Spanish more so than I do speaking in English.
Tell us why, though. Tell us why.
Why?
If you could put it together in English, I mean, I know it's going.
It's because I feel, actually at this point I feel more comfortable speaking Spanish than I do English, because I hear Spanish every day while I'm here. My wife is from here. My stepson. Everybody everybody on the club I'm associated with, and with my soccer club is they speak Spanish, and very few speak English.
Right.
This is, and I just feel more comfortable living here, and I'm happier living here. So when I'm speaking Spanish, it puts me more in a happier mindset, I think. When I'm in the States, I'm more stressed. When I'm in the States, I'm stressed out.
Yeah. Now that might have something else. I mean, is that could be something else, but I get it. I see what you're saying there, though. But because you're in a relaxed state, because it's not what you're used to. I see what I think I see where we're going with this one right here. So because for me, when I travel outside, when I get on a plane, it might be the Uber for nowadays. For me, I can get in the Uber. And the Uber driver doesn't speak English. At that point, I'm already on vacation, baby. I could be leaving my house, my address, and if the Uber driver doesn't speak English and they're a Spanish speaker, I'm already on vacation. And they getting ready to get an earful of nonsense. I'm just getting ready to give them everything they want to hear. But the benefit is being able to connect. I think
Correct.
another benefit is having the ability to connect to people that you don't necessarily think that you would be able to connect to.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And
And I
that
think
go ahead.
that in itself is amazing to me. I just love the fact that I can connect to people on another level that I would
Mhm.
never normally connect to.
And that gives you enriches your life, doesn't it? Um,
Yes, it's a positive experience on your life and their life. Yeah,
correct.
absolutely.
Game says adults are way better language learners than kids. It's a myth that kids learn
I
languages
love
better.
this. I love
Yeah.
this. I
You
love
know what?
this
I would
right here.
agree.
I
I would
love
agree
this
with that
right here.
from. I would agree with that from this perspective. Kids don't see the
I love
value.
that. That's my game plan. I believe on that one all day.
Yeah. Well, kids don't see the value in it, right? Because, you know,
There
if
you go.
if if
That's it right
if,
there.
if
That's it.
languages were gamified, they would be a lot more interested, right? And I think that
Well,
that's
they
where
are
the apps come
gamified
in.
now. They are gamified now.
Well, yeah. But thank God for the. Well, I'll
That's why
use.
my 5-year-old doesn't have a cell phone, but yeah. But there
So
are some
let's.
5-year-olds with cell phones. So
So
yeah.
let me get your number one benefit. You give me your number one, and then I'll give you my
Cool.
number one.
Here we go. Let's close it out. Okay. My number one benefit for Black people. I think I already gave this. Was it the career advancement? I gave the career
You gave
advancement.
career advancement, yeah.
That's really like that helped that's a special place in my heart. Let's go with if we had it, I got it. Give me yours. How about
All
this?
right.
Give me yours and let me look at my notes and see what I
All right.
wrote down.
My number one benefit
I can't remember
goes
what
more
number
to
one
my
was.
story. My number one benefit goes more to my story. When I was 13 years old, well, I played football, soccer all my life.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
soccer, just playing soccer opened my mind to people from all over the world. Friends from Italy, Russia, uh, Europe, the Middle East, Africa. I had a teammate that was from Colombia, and this is when I was 13, and his sister had come to watch him play, and I saw his sister, and he said she was from Colombia as well, and I couldn't speak Spanish at the time, and I was like, my God, I mean, I got to get one of those, right, at some point. And so, you forget about when you're a kid and you're growing up and life happens, you forget a lot of the things that your dreams when you're a kid because life happens. And so, I made some mistakes along the way, and I was had made some mistakes, and then found myself single in life again. And I was like, you know what? I'm
Mhm.
going to go back to when I was young. And the benefit of being bilingual for me was that I was able to find the wife of my dreams by becoming bilingual. And that was the benefit for me. It expanded my coast, like the prayer of Jabez. Lord, please expand my coast.
Oh man.
And that we, and
Oh
that we,
man.
and that we
Don't
also
go
know.
deep on them tonight. Don't look here. Don't
And so when we know
don't
that when, as they say in Acts, when the Holy Ghost had come and now they were speaking in
Mm-hmm.
tongues is being bilingual.
Yes, sir. That's
So
exactly what it is.
so that
I
that
will
is
say for me,
has helped me. That's
I
the
will say,
benefit for me,
I
is being
love
able to.
and blessings to you, bendiciones a ti y tu esposa. Great woman. I met her. I appreciate her. Your son has gotten huge since I've seen him since last February. So
Yeah.
I don't know how y'all, keep it together in there. But for me, I think my number one thing, and I've thought about this for a second, but my number one thing is this. I am excited about the fact that I'm able to have compassion.
Mm.
I've developed the understanding and the compassion of what somebody has to go through trying to learn another language.
Yes.
There's a lot of people out here that, when I say people, they come here and they're trying to learn English. English is probably one of the hardest languages to learn.
It really is.
But having the compassion and seeing people that struggle in these streets out here that are trying to speak English, and people, I don't know, the derogatory attitude that people put forward to people that don't speak English is not the way. That's when I feel like I got to step in and say, hey, you know what? You don't have to try to explain it to them. I'll explain what it is for them. I feel like a lifeguard, but I'm not a lifeguard. I'm it's that sense that I'm Superman at this point. But I'm not really Superman, but I'm helping somebody in a situation that is in need of help.
Yep.
And that is, I've learned that my purpose in life is being compassionate and helping people not learn Spanish. That's great. I do that. That's what I do. But I'm helping you learn compassion through language. Talk about it. I'm helping you learn compassion. Through a language. Right. So when I teach you this language, I want you to understand how it can trickle down to a situation that you may find at the train station, or you might find in the Target, the Walmart. You standing there, you're like, I know all this. I know what they're talking about. Let me help this person. And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, did I just do that? Like Steve Urkel used to say, did I do that? That was the thing. Like, I want to get that type of experiment off. And I want it to pop like, smart, like the Jiffy. You know what I'm saying? Like the Jiffy just starts going and it goes across the United States. That's my purpose. That's what I want to do. That's my focus. And I will say this to the end of times. I think if we can understand how language can bring us together as a people, as a unit, because once we learn the language, we can also understand where people are coming from, because now you can dive into understanding, oh, this is how, because you can explain it to me. I understand where you're coming from now. I understand what it is that you're talking about and where you came from and how things work. But it's going to take the fact that people need to understand how to engage in conversation first and foremost. So that's my number one. Compassion is my number one. I'm gonna leave it with that.
That's good. Sounds as though you've had some religious training, but that's good, bro. That's real good.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So Diallo Ferguson, I agree with Cortez and Game-ChangerW, because adults are more intentional with language learning, but most adults believe that myth and they talk themselves out of it. Yes.
Very true.
Very good.
Very true.
So Prof, we've hit almost the 2 hour and 30-minute mark. It's always this is what we do all the time. Anytime you and I get together and start talking,
we talk. We try. We do this, baby. This is what we do without a live stream. Yeah, absolutely.
So how can people get in touch with you, man, and talk with you about how can you help them to learn the language? Give me some info for them. For the people.
So, call Jesus. No, I'm not gonna say that. No,
don't call you. Call Jesus.
I always want to say that. But no. Hit me on Speak Spanish Now. Hit me on Speak Spanish Now on YouTube, or info@speakspanishnow.tv, or you can also hit me on speakspanishnow.tv on Instagram, or same thing on TikTok, new over there. But hey, I'm a regular guy. Omar at CarolinaLanguageSolutions.com. You can find me anywhere. Just the black dude that speaks Spanish. I wish somebody secure that website for me. The black dude that speaks Spanish.com. That's what I want to do. I'm gonna buy that one tonight. As a matter of fact, the black dude that speaks Spanish.
That's pretty good. That's pretty creative. I like that. Let me write that down for you. I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna look it up for you real quick. The black
Yeah,
dude that
appreciate it.
speaks
Make sure
Spanish.
somebody ain't got it already.
The
Good
black
stuff. Hey
dude
man,
that
you know, and I want to say this. Our benefits, and I want you to leave the people with this one, because I'm not sure we extrapolated the one the one fact that you had told me last week or earlier this week. We talked about it this week. So it was it was like 92.6%. Was that what it was? 92.6%, or it was 7.4% or something like that, about African Americans, excuse me, that don't speak
No,
a foreign language.
the one that I gave you was that was like city specific. But if we're talking about countrywide, it was less than 1% for African Americans that speak multiple languages.
Oh, here we go. Let me see. Let me see. I'm gonna run it back so I can see. Because you had it here. Hold on. Because I got it. I got it right here. I'm looking. Let me run back. We got. Hold on. Oh, here it is. All right. So among blacks, the bilingual rate is 7.4%. 92.6% only speak English.
Mm-hmm. So I think
7.4% of the black people in the United States that are African American speak two languages. African American, by the way. We're not talking about so and so that came from, Port-au-Prince or
no, yeah. Let me break that down even further. We're talking again.
Yeah, because you're the econ guy. Please
Because
break it down.
that was actually 7% of the population, 7% of the American population. So if we extrapolate out the percentage of African Americans, it actually comes in at about 0.8%.
How many?
0.8.
Whoa, that was 7% of the American population.
Correct.
0.8% is
African American.
American. And on that note,
no, that's not 1.8. That's 0.8, which is less than 1%. 0.8.
So 0.8 out of what? What are we talking about? 360 million?
There are 340 million U.S. citizens.
How many black people in America? So now we got to dive into the econ. We ain't got time for that. We ain't got time for that, Propay. That's another episode, baby. That's another episode. Let's do it. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna come on down. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this in Bogota, right? We're gonna do the Anthony Bourdain. We're gonna go up this Estrada Cinco or Seis. Sit down at a little joint outside on the street like Anthony Bourdain. R.I.P. to my man. But and we're gonna talk it up. We're gonna chalk it up, baby.
Yeah,
I like the fact that you leave us with that fact that 0.8% of African Americans speak more two languages or more.
Yeah, and that's that is that's the fault of our culture, right? We focus on. I mean, think about it this way: if we have people that want to be professional athletes, how much time and energy do they put in to be a professional athlete? If they took that same energy and put it into learning another language, right? They may not become a professional athlete, but they would definitely give themselves a higher probability of being successful in something else. Think of it this way.
You know what I used to do?
Say again.
You know what I used to do? And I mean, we gonna have to. I think about it, and I was that guy. I was what they call the black unicorn. I taught high school. I coached varsity football, and what I did was I would take what I taught in class as a Spanish teacher and put it on the field. I would run plays in Spanish. I would teach my players Spanish.
Yep.
From an offensive perspective. So when I said stuff just randomly during games, The other team had no clue what I was talking about. Why? Because it's the 0.8 situation, but it's even less at that point. But I was that coach from an OC, offensive coordinator position. I would say stuff all the time. I'm like, hey, vamos a hacer eso. Por eso. And I would run it, and I could say anything. Right. It didn't matter. Unless there was a Hispanic kid that was playing on the team, he was the only one. But he couldn't, he didn't have time to explain what it was to the other kids before the play popped off.
Right.
Advantages, benefits.
Yes.
Hold on a second. I'm gonna bring back an advantage, and then we're gonna go ahead and shut this thing out. But I'm gonna bring back an advantage to how that worked. Though I'm gonna bring that back. Hold on 1 second.
Okay. All right. While he's doing that.
1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Here we go. I got it back. Here we go. All right. So hold on. So this right here. This right here. This is a state championship ring of making that happen.
Okay.
Making that state high school 4A state championship football ring of making it happen by utilizing the Spanish that I need to utilize.
Mm-hmm.
So when people say it doesn't work, I got proof that it works. I sent kids to school, sent kids to the 4-year universities that went ahead to play in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Off this right here, off that right there. So there are things that these are benefits.
Yeah.
And they think back to like, yo, that was wild, coach, when you used to call stuff in Spanish and people be like, hey man, what's he talking about? Hey. Instead
That's
of
awesome.
all the signals and all that, I just call it in Spanish, man. Keep it simple.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? Just keep it simple. All right, boss.
So
let's close it up, baby. We're gonna land this plane tonight, baby.
Yes,
We're gonna land it now.
I really want to thank you, brother, thank you for being on the show, Profe Omar. Muchísimas gracias por tu tiempo. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate you. Mil gracias, señor. Mil gracias.
Igualmente. And thanks to all of the individuals who have come on to this live stream and for the super chats. Thank you all. This is very special for us because this topic is special to us because we're living it. We're living examples. And for us to have found one another and be able to have these types of conversations, it's very special. And for us to have found you that have come onto this channel to share this moment with us and to converse with us is very special to us. And I'd like to encourage you all to continue to follow my channel, Infinite Growth TV. And also, Profi, tell them what your channol is, because you're a YouTuber as well. Man,
look here, they speak Spanish now, but my biggest thing is this. I just want people to learn. Follow me, follow Infinite Growth TV, but that's cool. I want you to learn Spanish. I don't care if you follow me or not. You ain't got to. This is it. You can see me tonight and then you can walk away. Yeah. But learn Spanish in some type of way.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling, for me, I learned early on in 1987. I knew this was going to be a situation. Did I tell anybody that? Nah. But I knew it was going to be a situation. But I want you to be able to get out here and write your own destiny when it comes to being able to be functional in the United States if you're still here. If you're not in the United States, cool, whatever. But it still is going to write your way. There are 21 countries that utilize Spanish as one of either their native language, official language, or one of their languages that they function upon.
Mm-hmm.
We're not done with this. This is some of our top thoughts that we had.
Right.
We just said we put this together a couple of days ago. We still got 5 to go. Join us as we dive even deeper.
Yes.
Where we going with this? Why it's important for Black people to reap the benefits of being bilingual.
Yeah.
So, Profe Don Omar, Nos vemos.
Muchísimas gracias, señor.
Ya
Tengo
tú
noche.
sabes, ya tú sabes.
Thanks to all of you. And remember, we are what we continually do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Until next time, bendiciones a ti, a todos, y muchísimas gracias por tu tiempo. Bendiciones. Chao.